that's my favorite part of D&D as well as the story playing, because you get to choose to be someone, anything that you're not usually, whether that's a really cantankerous dwarf or choose a story and with really good friends that you play with, and over time that you get to know better, you get to build a story with each other that starts to feel like a part of you, no matter what your experience base is, no matter how crunchy crunchy is numbers, like you're crunching a lot of numbers. Some games require a lot more numbers to be crunched than others. But the best part really is the storytelling. And how dramatic you can be, because I frequently like throwing my character into deep, dark holes that no one has checked for traps, and then everyone has to come and save me, and it's really fun. And you know what? It's really nice to be able to shut off that part of my brain and throw a baby dragon into a cavern and watch it fall apart.
Kim doesn't look like it, but she's a lawyer by day, so
Yeah,
she gives the GM a lot of hassle with rules.
Spencer brings up a good point. I think maybe we got a little bit ahead of each other. So, so you know who the folks are at talking at you. We should all introduce ourselves. So why don't we start with the fantastic Tom Whitmer, DM Lore Spinner.
Thank you. DM Lore Spinner. Thomas Whitmer's the last name. I've been in Hollywood since 20, and actor, writer, worked in corporate Hollywood, which is, I mean, that's a crazy story in itself. But really, I've been playing D&D and telling stories and creating stories and just creating relationships with people, which I still have, you know, today, since I've been 12. And it's really been an important part of my life. So I'm honored to be here in front of all of you. I'm going to share my stories with you. And yeah, thanks for being here in the panel today.
All right, Kim.
Kimmy?
My name is Kimberly. I am a corporate attorney, so this is very different from my day-to-day world. But I've only been playing for about maybe 4 or 5 years. Spencer was my first ever dungeon master, and we would play at this small brewery in Van Nuys. And over the years...
We're hosting a massive Halloween gameplay at that brewery for Halloween.
Is it massive?
It is,
if you come, you have to wear a onesie. I am setting this rule down now.
A onesie? No.
You must be wearing a onesie.
There's a costume contest. They can dress any way they want.
Onesie's optional.
So yeah, I've been playing for a few years now, but I'm still relatively new, and I frequently look to the rest of my team for guidance on how to figure out a number or how to figure out a character move. It's
So
really
Kim,
a privilege to be here.
When you first started playing,
Let me share
like
this
how
with
much
you.
information did you have sitting at the table?
To be fair, I had 7 character sheets in front of me because I was starting to learn to play with 6 other friends, and none of them had any inclination what was going on. So I got the crash course in how to play every character all at once, because everyone needed to be told what to do. It is the bane of both of our existence. But it was
You brought 6 friends, and none of them knew how to play too? And you were the only one doing the character sheets?
You brought 6 friends.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
I didn't know Carap had before you.
But it is fairly easy to pick up if you focus on the part of D&D that speaks to you the most. And for me, that's extremely dramatic role play. And I let everyone else help me figure out the numbers, and you build from there. So again, it's just a privilege to be here and share this with you guys, and I hope I can give you just a little bit of this spark to go try it for yourself.
Thanks, Kim. And this is JD. He is an actor. He is a lineage of actors, comedians.
So my name's Jonathan Durante, old guy. I have been playing Dungeons & Dragons since 7th grade, which for me was a significant amount of time ago. And I have been dungeon mastering probably for longer. And happy to say this is my 3rd panel here at Comic-Con, all specifically centered around Dungeons & Dragons. Spencer, our fantastic GM McLeods, is a prolific artist in this space. In particular, he runs the RPG All-Stars Network, and I've had the good fortune of being on several of his podcasts. We played in a number of different game systems, like Pathfinder, 1st edition, 2nd edition.
We actually won Gen Con last 3 years.
That's humble brag. We actually won Gen Con, but that's irrelevant. No, but that one of the particular series did win an award, which is a wonderful honor because you're being recognized by people in that space. And Gen Con's kind of the big gold standard of gaming conventions out in Indianapolis. And then we played in the Star Wars universe. There's a few different versions of that game system that you can play, a lot of fun. And then, of course, Dungeons & Dragons, which primarily 5th edition. And again, there are different editions for the different games. Don't worry about that terminology. All that you need to do to start playing is kind of sit down with someone that does know the rules to kind of walk you through it. And you just sit them and tell them, hey, I've always wanted to kind of be this character. And a good dungeon master will help guide you through the process of character creation. Honestly, these are big books. There's a lot of rules. You don't have to worry about the rules. Someone will help you there with it, right? The long and short of it is, again, create the character that you want to play, do exciting, cool things, make cool choices. And then, the rule of thumb with Dungeons & Dragons is when you're presented with a challenge, you'll probably have to roll the dice to see if you overcome it, right? And usually it's this polyhedral 20-sided die,
JD.
right?
Yeah.
So here's a good roll. We'll roll it down there. Let's see how well I did.
Oh boy. Is there a modifier on this?
A 12, better than
12.
average. That dice likes to roll 12, apparently.
Good job, buddy.
So I'm doing better than average on this explanation, but and that's it. So in that situation, the dungeon master in his mind, or maybe he told us, set a difficulty number for that challenge to overcome, and I roll the dice, and I either overcome it, and he describes what happens, or I don't, and he describes what happens. Some DMs, like Spencer, for example, love it when you don't succeed in things, because honestly, failure, we all learn from mistakes, right? And failure is what keeps things interesting in an imaginary story about pretend elves. So, in Dungeons & Dragons, don't fret the failures, because the failures often turn out more interesting than the successes. Although it is cool to be the last person to strike down the dragon, or the person to find the treasure, or the person to disarm the trap, right? These are all cool things that you can do in Dungeons & Dragons, and the dice are either your best friend or your worst enemy. So.
Thanks, JD. Next to you got Sherwin. He has his own mic.
Hey guys. Sherwin Masashari. I'm the tech guy in the bunch. Kind of reflects my gaming style too.
You're inventing, beyond the game, you're inventing something. You have an AI.
Yes, Flow AI
game
Labs.
master, or what is it? It's
Flow AI Labs. So for our first public project, we're doing a little Dungeon Master game helper. So I know Dungeons & Dragons could be cumbersome sometimes when you have to read a 100-page book. Now imagine you could just ask a virtual assistant, hey, I got stuck here in the game. What's the best ability check I can do? Or just somebody that can help you along the game and keep the game fluid and going, but not take away.
Fundamental.
Yeah. But not take away from the experience, hopefully. For me, it's always a challenge to know, hey, what am I supposed to do in this situation in the game? And I love the amount of freedom that Dungeons & Dragons provides compared to a traditional video game, which was where my passion in games originally started. So now with Dungeons & Dragons, I get to play video games in an analog format with a lot more creativity rather than just being able to do very set things that has been pre-programmed for you.
Yeah, he frequently throws grenades in underground caves and brings them down on top of us. It's great.
Lee rolled
Bring out hell on him,
You know what that is? That's what he is.
Well, that's a campaign that you're running, and he is kind of a high-tech version of something.
Yes, he's from the multiverse, actually.
There you go.
Kind of accidentally found a new home.
Bringing cyberpunk to D&D.
Yeah, and then next to Sherwin, we have No, who's a very experienced player.
I'm a fairly new-ish experienced player. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for a few years and originally started in Georgia. I'm an actor primarily, and I love Dungeons & Dragons just because it gives you an opportunity to really just come together with a lovely group of people, whether it's new people that you're just getting started to know, whether you're doing Dungeons & Dragons in a community base, or it's some of your close-knit group of friends. And the group that I'm fairly new to this group here, this delightful group, but the group that I normally play with, I phone in from Georgia, or from California, because they're based in Georgia. And I've been playing with them for several years at this point. And we're in game. We're like 2 weeks into our campaign, but we've been playing for like 2 years. And it's just such a wonderful community, because I think the thing that I love most about Dungeons and Dragons is just you get to have these authentic experiences as the character that you're playing, and you get to build these relationships with your friends and live out these situations and really connect with your friends on a different level that you wouldn't be able to with real life experiences, that you wouldn't necessarily be able to with real life experiences.
So you've never told me this. How did you get into it? Was a friend was DMing and they just dragged you in, or?
Yeah, so one of my friends, Sam, they reached out to me and they were like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a Dungeons and Dragon group. Would you like to come? And I was like, absolutely. My experience is mostly with video games. So I grew up playing Legend of Zelda and Skyrim, watching Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones. Action, adventure, fantasy has always been my bread and butter. And those are the stories that I really love to be a part of and to read and to experience. And the first session that we did, I played a Dragonborn sorcerer, and we just all came together, and it was like a ragtag group. There were 2 people that maybe played, like Sam and then the DM were like the only 2 people that had really been experienced. So all of us were inexperienced, just having like the player's handbook, like D&D Beyond online. I was Googling everything that I was supposed to be doing, like what ability checks, because it was the Dungeon Master's like first time DMing too. So we were all learning together, and it's just such a beautiful experience, because you don't need to be necessarily experienced to play Dungeons and Dragons. If you're in the right group, you all are asking each other questions, and you're all learning from one another.
Nice. And I am GM McLeod's, known online, Spencer, in other words, and been DMing for
Years, yeah?
Yeah, since basic. Sorry, I'm going to date myself. But as it's changed over years, we've learned to appreciate new systems and stuff like that. Right now, E5 makes it a really easy entry for everybody. So if you're a new player out there, and there's never been an easier way to sort of tap into what D&D is and get into a character. And I don't want to talk too much more about me, but I do want to talk about the 3 books you'll need. JD, if you can show us one. For players, you'll need this guide. You can probably find it online. You know.
This is the newest, by the way. So Dungeons and Dragons has, since 2014, been in their 5th edition. And as of 2024, they're kind of making the transition into what everybody's affectionately referring to it as 5.5. So this is the newest version of the Player's Handbook, but the one prior to this, same line as these, was released in 2014.
Great. And who's an aspiring DM, or who is? Let's get the aspiring DMs out there. Great. Woo! So you will need 2 books. JD has.
So if you're Dungeon Masters, this is your tome. It delves a bit further into the rules, gives you all sorts of variant rules, and a lot of coaching on really just basically how to build a world or run a world. This one is going to be released or updated to the 5.5 edition next month. So November, the newest version of this comes out. I will say the new ones are worth looking into, because this version of the Player's Handbook, I'll tell you, reads a lot better, and especially for potentially newer players than previous iterations. And then you got to have stuff for your PCs to kill, your player characters to kill. Here's all the monsters that you can use to maim or be maimed by the people at your table. So this is your bestiary of all sorts of different cool things, everything from a goblin to the most fearsome of dragons. And it's fun to read about this because a lot of them have their own backstories. They live in certain parts of your fantasy world, whatever world you're running or you create for yourself. So this gives a lot of flavors to the adversaries that you put up against your players. That's the Monster Manual. This one is coming out in, I believe, February or March of next year, the newest edition.
And just a show of hands, who knew that? Just so I know the crowd better. Who knew these books were available, right? And anybody that didn't? Who didn't? Yeah, okay, cool. So also these resources are online too. And I also wanted to talk about one of my favorite alternatives to D&D is called Pathfinder. Has anybody heard of Pathfinder? Yeah? Yeah, okay. The reason why who clapped? Yeah. Right.
It's Mario.
It's a Mario. Why did you clap? And this is an interesting thing for everybody that's learning D&D.
Because it's D&D 3.5, 3.75.
Okay. And also, what about the company culture?
Pazio?
Yeah.
I don't know that much about Pazio.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you a little bit. So when D&D sort of went through a rough period, a few of the people wanted to continue to work, and it was an open gaming license. So one of them, Lisa, said, "Hey, let's do Paizo," and so they all left and created Pathfinder 1. So Pathfinder 1, like you said, is 3.5 D&D basically, without the rights to a few animals or critters. So it was a really interesting transition, and they're a great company, so we do like to support them. If you have an interest in TTRPG, you definitely want to check out Pathfinder. I've enjoyed them. They're supportive of the podcast. They do a lot of stuff for us. Not that I don't like D&D. I do love D&D as well. It seems that Chris Cox from D&D has announced that they are rating all their old catalog for AI. So I'm little on edge about that. I don't know. How does everybody feel about AI right now? Do you like it? Yeah. So if you signed your material 20 years ago and you said, "Hey, yeah, you have the rights to my material," and then somebody 20 years later came up with this thing, AI, and they're gonna rip it and make new modules, like I don't know how I'd feel about that. So,
Yeah, Sherwin.
yeah, sure.
And your AI bot.
So that's my little, and that's my promotion for you checking out Paizo Pathfinder. We're not sponsored by either. I really love the company. They've been super supportive. They're amazing people. And
To take it a step back, sorry to,
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer's mentioning other game systems. I think it's important to know, we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons specifically because, as their tagline
D&D.
says, the world's largest and best known role-playing game, which is true. There are a ton out there, right? Dungeons & Dragons.
Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's ubiquitous.
Vampire.
Especially this edition, it's kind of easy entry. But if you want to run, like we talked about this earlier, if you want to run Star Wars, right? If you want to run something cyberpunk, if you want to run cowboys and Indians, like whatever you want to do,
Boot
there's
Hill?
a game system for it, right? There's a game system.
somebody knew Boot Hill.
What's that?
I said Boot Hill, and he
Boot Hill,
laughed.
right?
Yeah, he
Okay, so
knows.
right. Is
Yeah.
it Gamma World?
Rocks,
Sure.
yeah.
But most importantly, again, there is, if you're saying, "Hey, I'd love to play this type of game, but maybe Dungeons and Dragons isn't it for me, or that's not, this kind of high fantasy role playing isn't the setting for you," there is something out there for you, I promise. And especially if you find like-minded folks that want to play in that same type of setting, it's out there. It's out there. You just, one lucky person has to nominate themselves and kind of in charge of learning the rules and the systems so they can run it for everybody. But then you just get a group of people together and roll some dice and have some fun.
All right, I got a question for No.
Oh dear.
Myths and misconceptions of D&D.
Just misconceptions?
Yeah,
about
what
it?
are the common misconceptions of D&D?
I think that, a lot of people think that there's like a high level of entry. You have to have a lot of knowledge to be able to play, but I came into D&D literally knowing nothing. And like I said before, the first time I played, only one or two people had played one or two sessions before. So you don't need to have a lot of knowledge of D&D or the world to enter. I think another misconception too is that it's just, this area that's reserved for only people who go to LA Comic-Con or nerds or video gamers can play it, but it's really accessible to anybody who wants to tell a story and who wants to be a part of an interactive space, because that's what I feel like D&D does at the end of the day. You're there to tell stories and to share experiences with your fellow players and your fellow DM, and you don't get that experience in real life.
Nice. Is that
You
good?
mean I can't grow wings and fly in real life?
You can't.
Unfortunately.
I don't like this.
I know.
Kim.
You can.
I kind of want to, we've covered a lot actually already. Kind of want to ask the audience, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, what are your burning questions? And there's no such thing as a bad question. The only bad question is the one you don't ask.
So we have a group of 6 people. None of us have ever played D&D. We don't have a DM. We're kind of stuck on what to do. Should one of us learn how to DM? Should we try and pursue a DM somewhere else? What's the best route to go from here?
Yeah, so cool question. So a while back, I had a Gamma World picture up on my computer as a screensaver. I produce television. And one of the hosts of one of my shows said, "Oh, hey, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's a game we used to play, blah, blah, blah." And so it turns out he's a big, DM. And he was like, "We're looking for another player." I was like, wow. So I got into it. And then I hadn't DM'd really since Basic. And we're talking like maybe 2006, something like that. And so we weren't playing enough. Like once you get in, is anybody addicted to D&D? I mean, yeah, you might find yourself in that state. So I wanted to play more. I wanted to play once a week. And we were meeting like once a month. So I just got on it and just started DMing. Kind of what Noah said. You don't have to have a lot of experience. It helps if you know, like, if you can throw, like, oh man, a longsword does this type of damage, or you stabbed a skeleton, piercing damage. Like, knowing some of the rules is good. So it gets a little messy, but as long as you have Sherwin's AI game master, you should be okay, right? I mean, just do it, get messy. I mean, we brought character sheets after this is over, come up and ask some questions. We have a DM who was a DM back in Basic, now a DM who's forever DM. So yeah, just ask some questions. And I think you just got to get dirty and just do it.
And I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are adventure packs that you can start with that put you in a certain area and give the DM decent guidelines for how to direct the players and where they can go, and they set up a big bad, and you can start a one-shot or a campaign based off an adventure pack, so you don't have to come up with it all on your own. Someone has done this for you because they know how hard it is to get your foot in the door and start. Someone just needs to take the initiative to say, all right, I mean, I guess I'll be the one to make all the judgment calls and tell you all you're wrong. Your hit didn't land. Your fireball missed. And I mean, some people enjoy that, telling us that we missed.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to murder your friends, I mean, there's no greater advertisement than that, really. I mean, you hold all the power in their fate in your hands. But by the way, there are other resources out there, and again, I say this completely unbiased. We're not sponsored by anybody, but there's an online resource called Start Playing, where you can connect with professional DMs. There are professional DMs out there that you can hire to come run sessions, right? But honestly, to Spencer's point, I think it's great if you got 6 folks there that are invested and want to play, you can even rotate out Dungeon Masters. There's a lot of groups that do that, right? They'll say, for this period of time, I'll be the DM, right? And then somebody will watch that DM and say, okay, now I'm going to raise my hand. I'll DM this next session. You could stay in the same adventure path like Kim mentioned, or you could start in a completely different world, right? So it's best if you dive into it, because that helps with the long-term investment too. But that was a great question. Look for gaming groups at your friendly local gaming store. If anybody that's on Discord, if you join the Dungeons & Dragons Discord, which is free, you don't have to have like a special invite. They have a whole channel on there for looking for game. So there's a lot of hungry people out there that want to play, and some Dungeon Masters too that will happily either connect. I mean, sometimes they charge a fee, sometimes they just want to play. So, but there are people out there that you can connect with.
They have a great box set too, like a beginner box set,
yeah.
which is really accessible. It's not very expensive.
It has an adventure.
Not even a quarter of one of these books.
Yeah.
And if you want to take on the role of a dungeon master or one of your friends, you can get that. And y'all can pitch in and get that, and just read that really small manual and just kind of dive in. Like GM said, be messy. Do you like to tell stories? Do you like to world build and this and that? Because that's really what it's about. You don't even have to follow a module. You can just make up, we can even make up a game, and maybe we will towards the end, right off the fly. It's just about getting people together, and it's just about, really being open and really just being honest and having fun and being in a safe place where everyone just feels, like they can be a hero, or they can, be a healer, or they can be a monster if they want. It's whatever you want to be and whatever your friends want to be. But it's just about getting together and building stories and building memories.
And for the aspiring DMs out there are tons of online resources, right? Some really reputable folks, right? Some websites off the top of my head. There's theangrygm.com. He has a very acerbic take on it, but it's funny, but again, it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's really, really good advice. There's Bell of Lost Souls, there's the Alexandrian. If you just type in websites for Dungeon Masters, you'll go down a rabbit hole that'll last for hours. But anybody that's in your group or someone that's DM curious, you can just start there, right? And they'll hold your hand through the process.
And if DMing isn't your cup of tea, there's always DMs you can hire to help you out and teach you the game. And it's usually a very fun experience to go through that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's more of a virtual hire typically. I like playing in person. I don't know. To me, it's a world of difference. I mean, I've mastered some of the Roll20 and stuff like that, but it's not like having a grid map up and, having minis. Now, that's another barrier to entry is like, having all the minis to be able to run a game. So virtually, most minis are already there. So that is a benefit of doing it virtually if you're starting, right?
You do not actually need these. They're fun to look at, and I like to play with them, but you don't need them. You can describe the ugly, horrible green monster.
Describe it for us, Kim.
That's shuffling its back leg because it can't carry its own weight, but it's got these massive black claws that are glistening, and there's something liquid falling off of them, and you have a sneaking suspicion it might be blood, but you're not quite sure. And then you roll a dice, and you figure out if you are totally terrified of this thing and run away, or if you're brave enough to stand up next to it. So you don't need them. You can always
Good
just
description.
describe whatever it is your heart desires.
Try that for an AI prompt next time you're doing generative AI. By
I'm
the way.
running. Yeah.
I mean,
We-
for the collectors, emotionally, some of us do need them.
Yes, we do.
Don't
We do.
really need them, but
I love them,
down, we all know
personally.
we really need the
Yeah,
minis.
yeah. I'm addicted.
So-
I had a question over here. Wait, let's capture another question.
So, what's your favorite character race?
Character race.
Character race?
Race. I just played a goblin. It was fun. They reversed. I played too, and my friend threw together a thing where we all played monsters, and we were, having to please the orc chief, and it was fun. So I played a little goblin. It was kind of cool.
I like dwarves, believe it or not.
Dwarves.
That doesn't surprise us.
Yes, I know.
Give us your best dwarf sounding voice. Okay, there you go.
I'll give you something, GM.
Okay. I was expecting Scottish.
I like the new haircut that you have on.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
That's like a monster. How about you, Kim? What's your favorite?
I think mine is kind of a cop-out, but I have a dragon I really like to play.
Well, anybody would like to play a dragon. I mean, your
But-
GM has to be crazy to make you a dragon.
I agree. They do have to be crazy
That's-
to make you a dragon. But other than that, I actually really like playing elves. I like being a fairy elf sorceress and like saving everyone by making sure the bridge doesn't fall underneath us and calling in the clouds and the ravens to tell us what's next and to throw fireballs out of my hands and to suspend people in place with my magic. And I find that works best with elves. But maybe that's just all in my head.
So race-wise or species now, they're calling it in 5.5 edition. I kind of like your gold standard human. And the reason being is because they're very fallible. And you get all the baggage that comes with a human being, and you can get to play that because I think those make interesting stories. I'm a I grew up on a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff. So, there's a lot of, references to those characters as well. I do like a good half-elf, though, because kind of built into that, again, is that outcast and the lack of acceptance within both societies. And for those of you that are familiar with the Dragonlance novels by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, one of the more engaging characters is Tanis Half-Elven, and he struggles with that, the kind of whole character arc. And again, this is dating myself because those books are old.
I actually say as a DM, I love it when people, I actually sometimes make everybody play a human if it's not going to torment them too much. Because, like for example, for Halloween, we're doing this haunted carnival at McLeod Ale. So that's on Eventbrite. You can check it out if you're in LA. And when you're a human, you're just susceptible to what you and I, so it's very relatable. Again, though, I do love playing fantasy, like an elf is fun, half elf. But being a human, you can't see in the dark. Like a lot of these races have like low light vision and stuff, so it's kind of like cheating a little, to me.
So by the way, you hear the subtext there? This is the dungeon master I'm speaking.
DM
He's like,
talking.
I can't give you guys any sort of advantages.
I always play a human.
I don't want you to see the things that I'm going to murder you with. So he's talking as a player, but this is really more the dungeon master's
You got me.
view on it.
How about you, Sherwin? What's your favorite?
All right, at this point it's a cop-out, but of course it's a human. I don't really
No
know
pressure.
how to play
You're not getting
anything
advantage
else.
rolls just because you're human.
Yeah. There's this one time I played a dragon, though. It's fun to be an animal and just light everything on fire for no reason.
Your game master has to
You
be
didn't hear from
crazy
me.
to make you a dragon.
Yeah, very crazy.
My favorite so far I've played is an Eladrin, which is like it's like an elf, but just more, I think, because it comes with
more elf.
more elf than elf, because they have very special feats, because they have different appearances based off of if they're like summer, winter, fall, etc. And so I like the ability to change the season based off my mood and change the feat because of that.
Love it. Any more questions? Oh, we got a new player.
What's the difference between a half dragon and a dragonborn?
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Super specific question. That's a great one.
Dragonborn's in the core book, so.
Yeah, some of it has to do with the edition that you're playing in, but historically, a half dragon is a template that you add to a character. No, kidding aside, so a half dragon, it kind of varies by edition, right? So it's an interesting question because if you look, there's a lot of history baked into Dungeons & Dragons.
Do you want to play a Dragonborn or a half dragon?
I mean, he's Godzilla, so he's right kind of halfway there.
Yeah.
So listen. So
Either or.
there's a lot of history baked into the whole thing. So over the years, there's been all these different templates that you can add to the characters. Some editions allow you to play as one type of species. Some don't, right? And it goes back and forth depending on kind of what the consensus is among players. Half Dragon used to be so for example, in some of the earlier editions, like 3rd edition and 3.5, Half Dragon was what was called a template, right? That you could add to your character. So your part, whatever, you could be half dwarf, half dragon, half human, half dragon, half elf, half dragon. And then you would get some cool dragon powers with it, right? But you were still living in between both worlds. In the most recent edition, 5th edition or 5.5e, Dragonborn is, you're pretty much just like a bipedal, little mini dragon. That, at least in Dungeons & Dragons lore.
There's so much fun. They get breath weapon right away.
Yeah, they get some of the cool dragon
you can't
stuff too.
fly.
You can't fly right away, but later on you might be able to. But you get a cool breath weapon at the beginning.
It's really powerful.
Right.
Level 1.
They kind of compartmentalized it. A lot of the 5th edition mindset was to stream everything down and make it again more accessible. So they said instead of those templates, if you want to play a dragon person, here you go. Here's a Dragonborn, and you can just play it right out of the box.
Although I find those minis are more expensive than normal.
I mean, all minis are expensive, really.
Yeah, Dragonborn mini, yeah.
There's not an inexpensive mini, by the way, except for the ones that you print yourself, I guess. But then you have to buy a 3D printer, which is also expensive.
You can actually get minis for like $1.99.
Sure.
Like skeletons and.
Yeah, and then you buy 100 of them, and it's $200.
Yeah, I know.
So. Great question.
My wife keeps me in check. Any additional questions? Yeah.
So going back to gear and all of the things that you use, what would you suggest someone get to start from the very bottom, scratch, wherever?
All over that.
You need nothing but dice and an imagination to start with. Genuinely, you need nothing but dice. And if you can't find any here at Comic-Con to pick up for yourself, you can order them on Amazon. You do not have to get fancy. You just need dice, and if you can't do math in your head, bring a piece of paper and a pen. You'll need your character sheet. You'll have to develop that on your own, but there isn't anything else that you will need to start. And
or you could stick around for the next panel. It's TPK and win some dice.
TPK is his way of saying that he's going to kill you all. So just it's called
Sorry.
total party kill. He will kill you all. It's his
With
favorite
your
thing.
help. It's not just me.
There's a lot of acronyms in this, by the way. So if we say something you don't understand, call us out on it, right? There's a lot of shorthand. RPG is role-playing game. TPK is total party kill. DM is dungeon master. GM is game master. So there's all sorts of shorthand that eventually you'll pick up.
TPK is one of our shows. It's a game show we've been running at Gen Con, Comic-Con, online for a while now. And there's also Total Party Kill Games, which actually sponsors us sometimes, gives us dice to give away and stuff like that. So it's fun. Stick around if you got time.
Yeah, and a total party kill is when a dungeon master like Spencer
Accidentally.
decides to kill you and all of your friends.
Decides?
Right.
You rolled the one.
I'm sorry, yeah, right.
In the first 30 seconds of our game, he kills me. In the first 30 seconds, he just looks at me and goes, "You're about to die." That was it. I sat there for 4 hours fuming.
I forgot about it. I blocked it out.
We brought you back to life.
No, you didn't. Everyone was
I'll be honest about this. As a player, I've died. So, you have to have the threat. I mean, this is one of the things I commonly talk about. You have to have the threat of death on the table, for your character, because why else are you playing? I mean, it's a fantasy game. If someone dies, we'll figure out how to get you back in. And it's like Ron Lundeen, he's a big designer. He and I talk, and he said to me, he goes, I love it when I die because I've got 10 other characters I want to bring in. Like, I've already made them. I'm excited to play them, So, don't be afraid of death. One of the things is when you do first start playing, please be adventurous. Go down that hallway that looks more dangerous than the hallway that doesn't. Go ahead, the door's trapped. Go ahead and open it. Just, get into that adventure and really explore, because that's what makes the game super fun. The problems, we talked about some flaws and issues with, your characters and what you're playing, but those make it, that's what really brings the game together, is when things are all messed up. You don't know how you're going to get them back. Kim died. Like, what are we going to do? And it's like they had to figure that out. And if you're on an adventure pack, like we talked about these pre-written adventures, which I love. I was going to ask which our favorites are, but I don't think we have time.
Let's hear from the folks, though.
Two more.
These are great questions.
Yeah. Anyway.
But the first thing that happens when your friend dies is you laugh at them, obviously. That's the first thing that happens at the table.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Especially when they threw the grenade that brought the demons down on our heads. We really laughed at that. Yeah.
It gets you really creative to figure out how to bring me back to life, too.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused when it comes to like the stats and when rolling the dice. So let's say I roll maybe like a 15 or something. How does that actually affect, like, let's say my actual stats, like my intelligence, my strength? How does that actually like affect it in the gameplay? Because I'm a little confused with that.
So, or Tom, if you want to take it.
Tom, did you bring your player sheets?
I'm just going to give an example. So, say you and your party have entered this room, right? And you've done some time searching. You've figured out that there's nothing in there that's going to kill you necessarily or hurt you, but there's a door on the other side of the room. And, obviously that's the only way to go through and continue this, let's say, dungeon crawl that you're on. If you get to the door and the door's locked, right, and you might have to bust through the door, then that's, the DM might have you, if you're a barbarian, let's say, and you have like, huh?
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent choice.
That's awesome. Perfect. So, you would go up against the door and you would maybe rage, and you would...
It's a barbarian.
Probably not use a weapon because you'd saunder it, but you'd, maybe punch it or use, just brute force to knock down, run at it. And the DM would say, okay, well, what's your strength? And you'd let them know. And then they say, okay, what's the modifier on your strength? And say you had like an 18 strength with a +3 modifier, or something like that. Then they'd say, okay, go ahead and roll. And they'd have behind the screen, because the DMs have that hidden screen, they'd have a DC number that they've already picked.
Difficulty class
of what is needed to break down that door. So say that difficulty class is a 15, is how they are rating, like it's pretty difficult to break this door down. You have a +3 modifier, you have an 18 strength, you roll a 15 with the D20. The DM would say, okay, go ahead and roll a D20, and then add your modifier. You roll a 15, you add the +3, you break down the door, because the door is a 15 to break down the door.
And that's the heart and soul of D&D, folks. It doesn't really get much more complicated than that. You've already got your character in front of you. You kind of have a cursory idea of what they can or can't do, but sometimes you might need some help. The dungeon master might help you with that, or you'll do additional research. You come up against something that's a challenge. The DM will tell you, okay, this is what you're shooting to do here. You'll roll the dice and you'll add the appropriate modifier. To back it up a little bit, you might have heard some terminology that you don't know. The kind of core of your character, there are 6 attributes that your character has: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, right? Strength is how strong you are.
We have a few character sheets up here if you guys want to.
And by the way, if you guys want to check out the character sheets, and these are all free online too, but strength is how strong you are, dexterity is how nimble you are, constitution is how hardy you are, how well you resist diseases and poison, and how hardy you are. Intelligence, obviously, is like book smarts.
What's that?
Right? Intelligence smart. Intelligence for smart. Usually wizards are associated with that because they're very learned. They have to bury their nose in books for spells. Wisdom is kind of like how you perceive the world, right? You might not be very book smart, but you can notice a fly on the wall from 30 feet away, right? Or you've just lived a lot, so you have a lot of knowledge about life, right? Again, not book smarts, but just the wisdom of the world. And then charisma.
Very useful
is,
one.
Right. Charisma is just how outgoing you are, right? How well in social situations, how well you're perceived, right? So if you have a high charisma score, and again, at character creation, you actually roll dice to determine what these stats are going to be long term. Anything like a 10 is an average, right? Anything above that, the higher you go, the more above average you are.
I was going to say, to simplify it, there's a door and you want to break it down. As a GM, you can get really locked down in the DCs. Thank you. And the difficulty class. So I don't do that. In general, I will just have, there's an average of like a DC 10, most likely. If it's a little more difficult than half, I might add 1 or 2, right? But I'm rarely above 15 if there's like unless it's a door that's magically like sealed or something like that, right? So those numbers you can, as a game master, if they're, you're an aspiring game master, and somebody says, I want to do that, and you got to look through the rule book to see what it is, or your GM screen, just make it a base knowledge for you, like 10, right? So that gives them a 50% chance of breaking it down or not, right?
That's a good memoir for you, rarely above 15, the Spencer Sanders story.
Well, the DC in Pathfinder 1 for me is 15. It's much higher, yeah.
What other burning questions do you have with the little bit of time that we got left?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to get too far into the weeds. Keep them general.
You mentioned that there was a Star Wars one that you could find some sort of source. My wife and I and sister-in-law, we're going to have a Star Wars themed 1 week from now for my birthday. Don't cheer. I'm turning 32. Okay, you turn 32 then. But where would I go about finding a sort of a basis for any sort of Star Wars thing? Because I noticed that you had books for the regular ones. Is there something like that for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you just Google Star Wars RPG, the latest and greatest, I believe, is Fantasy Flight Games. They most recently had
So it's actually one of my favorite systems.
Yeah. But there's a few different versions that you can play too. There's a Saga edition that uses D20s.
D6s.
No, D6s is the original West End games, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm dating myself.
Yeah.
So you don't have the overload. I would recommend the Fantasy Flight Games ones because it's
great.
It's very based on narration, and the dice actually are an integral part of it, and it helps whoever your game master is.
This is our YouTube channel. We won Gen Con with a Star Wars 2 years ago.
Yes.
And it was Fantasy Flight Games.
Yep. Fantasy Flight Games.
I love it because you're rolling for yourself and the opposition in your dice pool. It's one of the most creative dice pools ever. So it does take a little, it's not quite D&D if you know anything in D&D. It's different. But it's basically the same thing. You're a person with brawn, stamina.
Yeah.
They just changed the name. So it's not strength, it's brawn, stamina is constitution. Yeah.
And they have starter adventures and everything too. So it's worth checking it out. And the nice thing is now it's kind of an older system, so the stuff's not as expensive.
Don't be confused by Assault or X-Wing. Those are highly different. Those are more like chess games.
Sure. It's by Fantasy Flight Games, and it's just the Star Wars RPG role-playing game.
I think Edge of the Empire is the one I love the most because it's literally playing hut space.
Right.
Sorry,
there are three kind of core settings. It's Edge of the Empire, where you can get to play your favorite type of scoundrel. There's Age of Rebellion, where you play like the heroic rebellion characters, and then there is Power of the Force, right, or something of the Force, but that's for Jedi-based characters.
Edge of the Empire. Yeah, introducing Jedi adds another level of complication with the Force. Thank you, everybody. This has been an amazing time. I hope.
Thanks, everybody. If you're interested in the AI, on the back counter, we have a little flyer. So you could take that, it's just a barcode. It'll take you right to the page where we're going to launch that, and that should be really cool and really helpful for all players.
And if you got any questions, we're here for the next panel, so just come on up and ask, and thank you,
D&D.
everybody. Play some D&D.
Excellent decision. Play D&D. Play role-playing games.